best day ever, outdid their month, outdid everything in December because of creating online exposure, creating that podcast, getting booked on other people's stages, speaking on podcasts, radio interviews, being featured in magazines. And in December, they had their largest revenue to date. And it's just unheard of in the tax world. Network marketing companies, right? We had a whole team that, of course, they'd been around for a long time, but in November had a $30 million month. I mean, it's just like mind blowing, right? Just starts to be mind blowing. And it starts to feel a little bit like mailbox money when you tap into the opportunity that is out there in this world. But Ray Higdon says, when you have more money, you can do more good. And so even though it's not the money that's driving us, it is how we feed our families. It is how we keep a roof over our head. It's how we go out and serve the world in an even bigger way to make your big impact. And that's what I want to make sure that we always cover. It's really about the impact that you are creating in the world. We can go and sell an item, right? We'd sell something, put money in our pocket today. But when we make an impact, right, we create a legacy. And that's what you are all here designed to do, is to create your legacy. So when we're talking about that 3-2-1 media boost, right, it is about busting out some of the myths that are in place. So write this down, right? No more onesies. No more onesies. We're not building our business one-to-one, right? We're not going to build our business one person at a time, or we're sending out an email, we're sending out LinkedIn messages, getting people on one-on-one discovery calls, right? If we are building our business one person at a time, number one, it's selfish, right? Because we're pouring into all this juicy goodness and only one person is hearing that. Right? You've got some really good stuff to share, very powerful messages, your experience, your breakthrough, everything that you have been through. To only say that and share that with one person at a time, right? Selfish, right? Also, not scalable. It doesn't matter how good you are, how long of a day you work. At some point, you're going to hit that glass ceiling. You're going to max out on how many people that you can connect with, even if you do a lot, even if you get really streamlined on it. If you are building your business one person at a time, you are going to cap out at some level. And at that point, right, there's only so much income if you're going to max yourself out. And this is the conundrum that keeps entrepreneurs what we call busy but broke. Right? We spend all day doing these discovery calls, these one-on-one calls, commenting and chasing and interacting with the same audience that we interacted with last week. Right? The same audience that we interacted with last month is getting those emails. We're creating that engagement. And so we think, well, I need more. So what do? I post more often. I send more emails, but it's still sending to the same people that had heard from us over and over again. So instead of building our business one-to-one, we're going to leverage the power of OPA, other people's audiences, being interviewed as a guest on other people's platforms. Even when I was in radio, in order to grow our brand, we used to speak once or twice a week at a business group, a networking group, for small groups all up and down the I-70 corridor or the I-25 corridor in Colorado to build our audience. We were guests on other people's radio shows, on other people's platforms. And so that's what we teach, is leveraging the power of other people's audiences in order to build your list even faster, connect with more media outlets, to elevate your credibility. Right? People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And when you're a guest on somebody else's platform, they already watch that show. They already love that host. They trust that host. So that trust transfers automatically over to you by being a guest. And you walk in as the rock star. Yes, we can start our own podcast. We can do our own platforms. But you even watch, like, the largest speakers in the speaking sphere, right? The speaker space. They leverage each other's platforms. You see them always stage swapping. So write this down, like, who could you stage swap with? Who else has a podcast? Who else is having events? Who else is running interviewing guests on their social media sites, featuring others in their blogs, right? Who could you stage swap with? Because right now, you know people that are in your sphere of influence that you could reach out to them and say, hey, can I have you as a guest on my platform? That's how you start. Rather than saying, can I be a guest on your show? Start with saying, can I have you on my show? Would you like to be a guest on my platform? Can I feature you on to my audience? Can I introduce you to my audience? Talk about putting change in my pocket. Can you share the info about your show in a minute, Patty Joe? In a minute. Yeah, and start instead of a lot of times what we end up wanting to go and do is we're asking people, we're asking for favors before we've put change in our pocket. And that analogy, what I mean by that is if you have most of us are kind of serving out of a deficiency, like we're bankrupt, right? We've asked for so many favors. Hey, you want to buy from me now? Can you can I have some of your time? Can I get some of your attention? And it's just always asking. Where if we go and say, hey, I'd love to share your stuff with my audience. I'd love to feature you. I'd love to tell my audience about you. Can I share your stuff, right? When we do that, now people are like, sure. Now the law of reciprocity sets in. Oh, you've had me as a guest on your show. Can I have you as a guest on mine? And I'm willing to stage swap. I always felt this way, even early on with LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn always asks for testimonials and reviews, right? Can you leave me a referral? Well, before asking somebody to leave you a referral, will you review me or give me a referral? Leave them first. Do what you want others to do first, and that'll help to create and open up more doors. When I started in the speaker world, I would start by what we called crewing, CREU. Like I would go and crew, like be a volunteer for other people's events. You want to meet like the top speakers, you want to build a relationship, you want to get known. Right? I would go and crew, which means I would fly on my own dime. I'd pay for my own hotel. I would often pay for the ticket to attend their event. And then I would work my hiney off, right? Show up early, first to arrive, last to leave. And I would volunteer, like, let me help you. I'll pass out stuff. I'll be a greeter. I'll help, crowd control. I'll help run errands. I would go and crew for other people. Why? Because I was adding value. Do you think they got to know me? Do you think I got to be on the insider? I was in the green room. I was behind the scenes. I was discovering what it really takes, to pull an event together. How do they manage their events? I got to be on the insider for the cost of a ticket, right? A plane ticket. Whereas I could have just gone, sat in the audience, or reached out to them and say, hey, will you have me speak on your next event? Are you looking for speakers? Instead, I went to them and said, let me pour into you. And they're like, Angel, what do you normally do? Normally, this is what I do. And they're like, you're crewing for me? You do all that and you're crewing for me? I'm like, you bet. You bet I am, right? Because I'm a big proponent of serving people, right? Of being in that servant leadership. And they're like, well, yeah. And I've gotten invited over and over and over again to many stages and many opportunities simply because I was willing to show up and do some hard work, whereas most people weren't. So who can you stage swap with? Right? Who do you know? Like Patty Joe, she's going to post hers. Sakisha has a show. Alex, I think she also does opportunities for speaking on. Alfina, I don't know if you do, but if you do, like we're going to have kind of a stage swap moment before we end. I'm going to bring you all on camera and let you talk about the stage swapping opportunities that you guys have for each other. But this is where we start, right? Instead of building our business one-to-one, right? No more onesies. We are now going to leverage the power of OPA, other people's audiences, and we are going to start by adding value to others. We're going to start by adding value, saying, this is what I have for you, before we start asking them for something in return. And, and so do we pay to play for stages? Sometimes we do, right? And so we have to consider, if we're going to pay to be a guest on somebody else's platform to be featured, think about this: to do an advertorial, maybe it's a 2-page, a 1.5-page advertorial in the Oprah Winfrey magazine, right? Great exposure, incredible distribution, high quality audience, right? Great. I mean, that's like the I Ching, right? Of where you want to be featured. It's about $18,000 for that feature. Is it worth it? Maybe. Think about where you are in your business, where you are in growth. At some point, right, we start off by getting our feet wet and practicing on some of those freebies, right? It's just, with people that are starting out. I love doing stage swaps with people who are starting out because it's a great place to practice. You want to tweak a new message, you want to try like you're launching something different, you want to really get good at what your message is. You want to practice that on some of these newer platforms, easier to get into platforms, before you go and blow the whole wad, right, on somebody else's big stage. The last thing I want is for you to go and create this major media exposure and you are not yet ready, right? You are not yet ready to monetize it on the back end. So number one, right, we're going to do some stage swapping with people that are already in our space, already in our world. And you look at your list, and let's say you're like, Angel, I don't have a podcast, I don't have an event, right? You have a social media presence. You could do a Facebook Live. You could go on Zoom, bring somebody in, and either record it or stream it live to social media. You could record it and post it to anchor.fm. You could start your own podcast for free with anchor.fm. You could create a stage. But before you start to say, hey, I'm going to have my whole podcast and start your whole show that, has all sorts of production and stuff behind it, start by something simple, right? Start by just doing something simple, bringing people on a Zoom, interviewing them, and sharing that out on YouTube or on your social media sites. Do it as some practice. Get your messaging down, right? Let them get their messaging down before we take it off onto these major platforms. Because I don't want you out there like throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Clubhouse, fabulous platform. Yes, Alfina, that's actually even better, right? Invite people on, moderate a room, and leverage it because it's just your voice. And let me talk about how powerful your voice is when it comes to creating an audience, when it comes to building your tribe. Your voice is the number one tool, the main tool that you have really for connecting and building that trust. Audio platforms are the most visual medium that there are when it comes to media and marketing. And the reason that they are more visual than television, more visual than magazines, is because people fill in the blanks with their heads, right? They fill in the gaps of what's missing. They're hearing your voice, they're creating word pictures, they're connecting that to a story or something they can personally relate to. And so it is the most impactful way to connect deeply with your audience by being a guest on Clubhouse, an audio podcast, a radio interview, because it's just your voice allowing other people, the audience, to fill in the blank. So you want to connect the most deeply with your audience. Audio is the number one way to do it, which is why podcasts are so valuable for us to leverage in order to get our story out into the world. So absolutely leveraging Clubhouse, right? And so here's the other piece, right? Is that, it's keeping us, busy, right? It's keeping us busy. You can start to spend all your time on, going out and being featured and doing all these interviews, all these podcasts, doing all of this media. But truly the secret recipe is 2 interviews a week. I say 2 interviews a week, 1 press release a month. That puts you on in front of 100 different audiences over the course of the year. That's a pretty powerful number. 100 audiences. Think about your revenue goal. And in fact, I want you to write down what your revenue goal is for the year. This is just between you and you, right? Your revenue goal for the year. And what the average ticket price that your clients spend with you. On average, you might have, 5 different price points, but your core offer or your average, ticket price, the average amount a client spends with you. And in business, Folks, you got to know your numbers, right? We are in business. We're not running hobbies. These aren't passion projects for us. We are business owners. And as business owners, we track our numbers, right? We stay on top of our income, our outgo, our KPIs, our cost of goods. Like, we've got to be in our numbers every single day because we are business owners. We're running a company. We're running a business, not a hobby. Now, if this is just you and your passion, right, then any exposure is good exposure, right? Then anything you're doing is worthwhile because it's just a hobby. But as a business, you've got to know your numbers. So what is your revenue goal for the year? Then the average amount that your clients spend with you. So let's say on average, they spend $500 with you over the course of the year. So you divide your annual revenue goal by the price that your excuse me, your clients spend with you. That tells you how many clients that you need to serve in order to hit your business goals for the year. So do you guys have your number of how many clients you need to serve in order to hit your business goals for the year? Once you've got that number down, you can start to divide that by quarter, divide that by month, divide that by weeks, right? So how many clients do you need to bring in on a monthly basis, so quarterly basis, a weekly basis in order to hit your revenue goals? Now, here we are in Q1, right? We're the first quarter of the year, January, February, March. So we're 2 months in to the first quarter, right? Because it's 3 months is in a quarter. The formula is your revenue goal. So your number for your revenue goal. So let's say your revenue goal is to hit 6 figures, right? $100,000, right? Which is typically the first earliest milestone for a small business owner. I've got my fancy calculator here. Look at how old school this is. Right? It used to have tape on it, anyways, it's old, but I love it. Right? The thing is a workhorse. I've had it for 1,000 years and it never stops. So if your revenue goal is 100,000 and your average ticket price of how much a client spends with you over the course of the year, so if they only buy from you one time, it's a one and done, then that's the amount. Maybe they buy from you 2 or 3 different times. Maybe they, it's a monthly payment they spend with you. But over the course of the year, let's say they spend $500 with you, right? So that means I need 200 clients in order to hit my 100,000. They spend 500, average person spends 500. I need 200 clients in order to hit 6 figures. Does that make sense? Are you guys tracking on this formula, right? So if I need 200 clients over the course of the year, I divide that, that's 50 clients per quarter, per 3-month window, right? And if I divide that by 3, it's about 17 clients a month. So that's in this example. I want you to have you do you, right? You have your numbers. You know your revenue goal, right? I want to hit $1 million, right? And my clients spend $4 with me. I'm going to need a lot of clients if that's my revenue goal. So either we need to automate and duplicate, right? We have to have a huge network if that's the thing, right? But in this particular example, I'm hitting $100,000. They spend $500 with me. It's about 17 clients a month. Now, that is, if we were to look back at our last quarter and how many clients did you bring on, right? In the previous quarter, that number might seem really low. That number might seem really high. You might be right on track. Like, you can start to manage your own formula. Like, you can start to manage your own income when you know the numbers. Because if I know I need to bring in 17 clients in a month, how many times how much exposure do I need in order to get in front of enough people so that I've got 17 clients coming through my sales funnel? Not rocket science here, right? Like, we just have to have our target in place. And then how solid are you? How committed are you to making that number happen? Are you going to wake up in the day and say, okay, right, I'm going to make sure that I get X number of exposure, right? Speaking on 2 stages a week, that's 100 new audiences a month. If I'm speaking on 2 stages a week and I need to bring in 17 clients, I'm getting in front of 8 new audiences. I should be able to bring in 2 new clients, right? From one media opportunity, right? From one interview. Now we're going to kind of back that out because these aren't sales opportunities. We're just using them to fill our funnel. So not only are we going to be building our audience 321 media boost, right? Boosting it with the exposure, but I can start to manage on the back end my sales funnel, my sales flow on the back end. So if I need 17 clients, maybe I only need one interview a week, right? In order to fill my funnel, in order to bring in. Maybe I need 3 interviews a week. This starts to help you to leverage and figure out, where am I spending my time? Because as business owners, we tend to work entrepreneurial half days, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., right? 12 hours. That's an entrepreneurial half day, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And most entrepreneurs are working much harder than that, but they're not more productive. They're just busy but broke, right? They're on the hamster wheel, just running, right? I'm posting, I'm sharing, I'm building, connections, and I'm staying busy, or I'm doing these one-on-one discovery calls with people. And these discovery calls aren't converting into customers because I'm trying to move them too fast, right? In this discovery call, right? I was on a call yesterday, and in a 20-minute call, they thought they could sell a $16,000 price point. Like, you're moving a little fast for me. Like, I've just met you. Most of the time, we are trying to move people into spending way too much time, what I call high TTT factor. TTT, time, ticket, trust, right? So how do we start? It's like breadcrumb marketing. We're going to start by creating the exposure to build, 2 interviews a week, get them into our sales castle, offer them something low ticket until they convert into our higher ticket. And here's why we do that. When people opt in and they invest in your low ticket item, they are more likely to invest in your higher ticket items even faster, because you've added value. You've created that know, like, and trust factor. You've given them something that's giving them the basics of what it's like to work with you. And from there, you turn them even more quickly into those high ticket clients, right? And a high ticket to me is anybody over 1,000. So your high ticket dollar amount might be different, right? It might be a $16,000, right? So, but that's that low ticket item. Anything that counts as that low ticket offer, really, and again, it depends on your wheelhouse. But I'm really thinking it's anything $300 or less counts as low ticket. Your audience, what you're selling, your price points may be different based on your industry, but in my world, anything less than 300 is really low ticket, right? And that's in the coaching world, the speaker trainer world. Anytime that you're teaching people, walking them through, taking them through their jungle, right? It's their guide in their jungle, the pain point that they're going through. Now, you might have an item, right? You might sell a lipstick, right? I have a $9 lipstick, right? That could be your low ticket item, all the way up to, high end, makeup, makeovers, and all of that. But you want to have something that gets them in low ticket. And here is, by the end of today, right, you're going to have an item that helps you to bring in an extra $5,000 a month in your business. And the reason we spend time on this $5K dollar amount is that's the number that it takes to really turn a small business around. An extra $5,000 a month will completely alter the life of any small business owner. You can start taking a paycheck, right? Paying yourself, invest in, better technology, buy inventory, hire those coaches you want to hire. Finally, right? So many are just pouring everything back into their business, that their families are frustrated because they're not bringing home any money. They're getting burned out because they're not taking a paycheck. And so we want to make sure that you've got some things in place just with your low ticket item that you can now start to create a paycheck and take some money home with you. So no more onesies. knowing your numbers, right? 2 interviews a week, 1 press release a month is our secret formula. There's no secret to it. We share it all the time. That's our magic formula. Getting in front of 100 stages a year, and in front of thousands of media news desks. And the difference between engagement versus exposure. Once they're following you, that's engagement, right? They're following you on social, they're in your Facebook groups, you've already got their contact information. Now you are engaging them in adding value, wowing them, right? Because followers become customers when they get results. So you're wowing them with this wow factor of value. That's what they'll turn into customers. So if I need 17 customers, over the course of a month, I'm putting them into a 90-day nurture loving them campaign, so that every month I've got my 17 clients that are coming through, not from the very first time they hear from me, but through this nurturing cycle, so that it's month in, month out. I'm always doing 2 interviews a week. I'm always loving on people that are already engaged, giving them an opportunity to come into media mastery, so that I am just consistently um, creating that ongoing revenue that I can count on. It's not these deep, highs and lows, these big valleys, right? I've got a bunch of clients, so I'm not doing marketing, right? Now I do a bunch of marketing so I can get some clients. 2 interviews a week, 1 press release a month, leveraging OPA is the secret, the absolute secret formula. And then you've got to know that there's media is looking for you. There are people that there's no limit to the number of media opportunities that you can be featured on as a guest every single week. We have a free Facebook group called needaguest.com. It's needaguest.com, and that'll take you to our Facebook group called Need a Guest. So if you have a stage, you're looking for guests, you can go to needaguest.com and get guests and get booked. If you have not gone to needaguest.com and sign up, it's free. To participate there. You can post what you talk about as being a guest, but you can respond directly to any of the journalist inquiries or the event host inquiries that are posted there. It's our media matchmaker site. It's free to participate. Whenever somebody comes to me and says, Angel, I'm looking for a guest, obviously I give that to my private coaching clients first. But if there's room for more, I always post those over on that Need a Guest website as well. And I'm always encouraging, if you know somebody who's looking for guests, who's building a podcast, looking for people to interview. And if you only do your interviews and you know people that only do podcasts 1 day a week, I always encourage you to at least do 2, and because I can fill up a whole schedule for you just with our clients. I know that when Patty Jo started out, right? Like she had a whole line of people all ready to go on her show, that we were able to just they're ready and they're looking for stages. So as soon as you guys are ready, we are ready for you. All right, platform. There's a perfect opportunity of places for you to be interviewed. But where do you start? By adding value. So go and find those hosts, go and listen to those podcasts that you would love to be a guest on. Follow them, share their information out on social media, tell them you like them. Right? Before you just go in and say, hey, you should interview me, you should have me as a guest on your show, add value. This is like real life skill set right here. This isn't rocket science. But just know that every single day there's over 1 million podcasts, and they are almost all of them are looking for guests. So you start to get your feet wet. Media attracts media, stages attract stages, because the more often you're out there in those 2 interviews a week, it absolutely snowballs, right? It absolutely snowballs. And now you're not pitching anymore. People are asking you, right? They're like, oh, I want you to be on my stage. I want to have you as a guest on my stuff, because they see you everywhere. All right. Tip number 2, right? 3, 2, 1 media boost is you guys kind of talked about it a little bit. I'm going to be a guest and this is what I talk on, right? But we need your media story, right? What is your media story? There's 3 parts to your media story. It's why you, why now, and what's the big idea. Why you is really just an element of what makes you a unicorn, what makes you unique in your space. Have you been in this space for a long time? Did you go through the school of hard knocks? Right? What sets you apart and makes you unique? It could be that you have credentials, right? You've graduated, you've got certain experience. So think about some of the things that you've worked, the accolades that you've overcome and worked so hard to achieve that sets you up for when a journalist or a podcaster says, out of all the people I could have, I want you. Because when we come and say I'm an author, speaker, coach, who ain't, right? Like we all are author, speaker, coaches. Okay, great. So is everybody else right now. But when you have I'm a talk show host, right? I'm a 12-time published author. I'm a best-selling author. I'm, a graduate of the School of Hard Knocks, some prestigious certification that you have that you worked your fanny off, right, to get. We want to lead with a couple of these other accolades in your wheelhouse so that you don't just blend, right? We absolutely don't want you to blend. We can emphasize later on in the bio, author, speaker, coach, right? But what we lead with are these accolades. So here I am, 12-year media broadcasting, top 1% of my industry, right? 12-time published author, top 1% of her industry in media and broadcasting. And what puts me in the top 1% is the fact that I host 4 hours. I was the host of 4 hours of talk radio every day. There's less than a dozen women in the world, right? Probably, I know for sure in the country, that host 4 hours of daily talk. I hosted a 2-hour business talk show that was nationally syndicated. And then I hosted a second 2-hour Christian lifestyle show, talking to moms in minivans on in the carpool lane. And so that alone, right, sets me apart. I've had over 2,000 broadcasts, interviewed over 5,000 guests. Like these are accolades. So what are some of the milestones, the achievements that you're like, that most people, when they hear it, they're like, wow, I want you to lead with that. I don't want you to bury it. I want you to lead with it. So these are the things, this is the why you, when we start to put together your media story. The second piece is why now? Why now? Right? What's going on in the world that this is relevant, this is important? Where's the sense of urgency of why should we be talking about this right now? And for me, right, most business owners are busy but broke. There's an epidemic of small business owners not taking a paycheck because they're not getting exposure. They're not, they're the best kept secret in the world, right? And you can't sell a secret. Right? And so right now, more businesses are closing than ever before. More small businesses are struggling. Even though they're starting, they're not getting traction, right? They're not able to grow their business. Like they're building their business one-to-one. I've got my whole list of like, why now? Right? You really only need 1 or 2 sentences, right? This is the challenge that your audience, your person, right? And so when you think about your avatar, right? The fancy word avatar, ideal client, I call it your person, right? I want you to remember there's a heartbeat inside of there. There's blood, there's love, right? It's a human. Who is your person? And when we can get our person at the beginning of their journey, if we can get them at the beginning of their journey, we can create loyalty. So for many of my clients, like they've never put out a press release. They've never been a guest on somebody else's platform. They've never been featured in a magazine. I can get them at the beginning of their journey. Maybe they've never even published a book before. And so I walk them through from the beginning of their journey and take them through. So when you think about where they enter into your workflow of working with you, where are they in their journey? And if you can get them at the beginning of like a merge, right? Okay, they've come this far in business, but now they're here, right? They've come this far in their relationship, but now they're here, and I'm going to take them, in the beginning of this new season of their life. Pamela, right at the beginning, as we're really starting to age, right? We're starting to get those wrinkles, right? Now we're really starting to pay attention to our skin, not necessarily as a 20-year-old, right? Not since we had skin, but, taking care of our skin, because now we're starting to see the impact of aging, right? You can get us at the beginning of that phase. So even though you think about, well, they've been in business, right? They're not a brand new entrepreneur, but they are at the beginning of some part of that you walk them through. So what is their challenge? What is the urgency, right, that they are having right now that's keeping them up at night? And remember that what you do in your sleep is keeping them up at night, right? Like, the answer. You've walked this walk. And even if you're just a couple blocks ahead of them, you're still ahead of them. That is what gives you the value. That's what sets you up to be that expert. I remember having a guest on my show. He was a QuickBooks expert. I introduced him as a QuickBooks expert. And he's like, well, I'm not really an expert, right? But I have all these years of education and certification. I've been in this space. And I'm like, well, on my show today, you truly are the expert. Honey, can you fill this up for me? Thank you. Thank you. And so when we have when we can get them at the beginning, right? If we have this sense of urgency, don't do this until you've met me, right? Don't publish your book until you've met my process. Don't put out a press release until you've come through my service, right? Because we're going to take you through it. We're going to get you better results. We're going to walk you through hand in hand, right? You want to make sure that they know that you are there to be their guide in their jungle. And then the third part. So why you, why now? What's the big idea? This is the most important piece. We know you're awesome, right? You're going to come in and you're like, I'm going to come in. I'm going to teach you guys this. I'm going to teach you guys that. But right now, like, why does that matter? If I do, like, I bring you on my stage and I let you talk to my audience that I have built, that all you have to do is walk in and not screw it up, right? Why? What's my audience going to get out of it? Even if they don't buy from you, even if they don't opt in, they don't choose to work with you, there still has to have value in having you as a guest on our stage, right? As a guest on our platform. So what is the big idea? What are you solving for? Not just for your client, but the impact that you're going to make. What's that ripple effect that you're going to make in the world? And I really want you to take a couple of minutes and write this down. This is the impact that I am leaving. This is the legacy. This is my mission. This is how, like, we are changing the statistics of how long couples stay together, right? I mean, there is an epidemic. Like, they're getting married, but they're getting divorced even faster. And right now, because of the pandemic, we're seeing the rates have skyrocketed of how many people are requesting to get a divorce. And so we want to, like, totally change forever the statistics of marriages that are ending, right? So I want you to take a couple minutes. I'm going to take us and give us like a little 5-minute break to, kind of go get our feet wet. Alex, you can have a few extra minutes. You can go have dinner with your son. But take a few minutes to write down and then also take a break. So actually, let's take a 10-minute break right here. We'll work on your why now. Go and get a little break, move your legs, refill your drink and all that. And we'll be back here. We'll be back here in 10 minutes. All right. All right. Have a nice little break. Alex, you're here. Did you eat anything?
I've had one mouthful and I was just about to.
Oh.
I tell you what he's made. This is what he made.
Oh, look at him. Oh, tortilla top chili. Yum. We're all getting hungry now, right? All right. Well, welcome back. Alex, if you need to turn your camera off, you're welcome to while you're doing that. I feel funny sometimes eating when nobody else is eating on camera, right? Although I have been known to sit here and eat some popcorn a couple times. I have a board meeting that they still meet in Denver, Colorado, but it's later here for me. And now that I'm in Florida. And so, yeah, I'll bring my popcorn and my snacks to the table. Okay. So adding value, right? Positioning yourself as that valuable expert Trading stages, super valuable way to boost your exposure. We've given you lots of right here 9 other opportunities for you to go to be a guest, creating that momentum of 2 interviews a week. It doesn't have to be. I had one of my clients, she wanted to be on, I think, 12 in a week, right? Not just 2, 12. She was aggressively building her business. And there were opportunities, and they started just flooding. She was being flooded with all of these opportunities, and she did burn out. I want you to also remember you've got to build a business. So every time that you go out into the world, you really create like work for yourself. So you've got to make sure you've got time to do the work that you bring in. And so she did. She ended up getting burnt out, and she scaled it back. And she's like, Angel, you're right. 2 interviews a week. It is, there may be times where you are doing a launch, right? Especially if we're doing a book. We've got a brand new book out. Jack Canfield, when he published Chicken Soup for the Soul, he went out and he did an interview 7 days a week. Every single day, he wanted to be somewhere promoting the book. Now, the nice thing about promoting a book is it doesn't create a lot of work on the back end, right? They go and they buy the book. I love books as your low ticket offer because it's something you can ESESD, write that down, ESESD, easily sell every single day, right? Easily sell every single day. So even if you're doing interviews, even if you don't have your courses set up, you don't have your programs, you don't have a website set up, if you have a book, it is something that you can create exposure, right? Being interviewed every single day, right? On somebody else's platform, sending people to go and buy your book. That's that low TTT item, right? We talked about the high, time, ticket, and trust. And if we're going to have a high ticket item, the way we get people to invest in our high ticket item is first with our low ticket, right? That low ticket offer, our freebie offer, and then our low ticket offer, getting them into our castle so that then they are more likely to invest in those higher ticket items. But with a book, right? They don't need to spend time with you. They don't have to have an appointment on your calendar. You don't have to have a whole follow-up sequence to get them to buy it. Right? People can hear you as a guest on somebody else's platform and pretty much instantly take action to go and buy your book. And so with your call to action, wherever you're leading them to in the sales funnel, make sure that you are also leading them into purchasing your book. And I know many of you are already authors, but I'm just going to overview some things about selling your book that are just pretty awesome. Number one is it needs to be what I call your food book, the book that puts food on the table, which means it fits in that trifecta. Number one, it's there's a platform, right, for audiences wanting to cover this story, to talk about this topic. Number two, you're putting it in front of a perfect audience who's willing to buy something, right, to buy your book, to learn about this topic. And number three, it is something you are passionate about, right? It's your wisdom, your education, something you probably talk about all day long, and that you're probably giving away for free right now in those one-on-one discovery calls, right? This is the stuff that you're sharing all the time. And this is the part that you get to the end of the day and feel taken advantage of, right? You feel like, okay, I'm out there sharing and I'm giving and nobody's buying because you're giving it away for free. When we put it and bundle that into a book, the food book, now it's not consuming up any of your time, right? People paid 10, $20 for it, right? But it didn't cost you anything to deliver it. And you do not feel taken advantage of. In fact, a food book is a 100-page love letter to your clients, a 100-page love letter, getting them the basics of what it's like to work with you, giving them results, all those stories you always wanted to share with them, those case studies, those things that the information you're giving away all day long. Go ahead and pour it into that food book. Don't worry, like, well, if I put it in the book, will anybody want to hire me? Yes. Right? You've heard a song on the radio and then went and bought the download. right? And then maybe bought the CD back in the day, and then went and bought the concert tickets, and then upgraded to backstage passes, right? We will invest, right? Because we want more. The challenge is, as business owners, we want to go and give them the backstage pass first. We're like, hey, come in and get my backstage pass, get 100% access to me, buy the high ticket, really intimate high TTT item. And they're like, whoa, right? Simmer down over there. Like, I'm just getting to know you. I've just met you. So now think of it more like breadcrumbs, right? We create the exposure. They hear you, right? They're connecting with you more deeply because it's your voice, right? Far more deeply than a 30-second sales pitch. They're hearing more of your story. Why you? Why now? What's the big idea? You're leading them into your sales funnel by encouraging them to go and buy this low ticket item, which means they've invested, even if they've only invested $5, right? Or if it's an ebook, right? It doesn't have to be a lot, but they've invested. Now they're learning a little bit more about you. They're getting results. And because of the results that they're seeing, they realize, you get me. Like, we are clicking, right? We are on to each other. And so now let me go and check out more. What else do you have? Do you have programs? Do you have courses? Do you have a Facebook group? Do you have resources for me that I can plug into? Oh, right now you do, right? We have Media Mastery Bootcamp. Great. I'll come and spend 3 days with you at your Media Mastery Bootcamp. Well, what else do you have? Well, now you can spend 12 weeks with us, and we're going to go through Media Mastery Live, where we're taking you through those 12-step modules. So we're together every single week for 90 days. But I'm not going to lead with that, right? I'm going to lead with the bootcamp. Here, it's 3 days. Go and get a little sample of it. If you want more, there's more, right? And then from there we have retreats, and we have private coaching, and we have all these other things on the back end. But we're not going to come out at it from somebody who's a cold audience or untapped, right? And to buying our bigger ticket items. Now, when you're a guest on somebody else's stage, you can't sell, right, your big ticket items anyways. It's not a sales pitch, but you can sell your book. And think about this. You've got your revenue goal, right? Look at your revenue goal that you have for the year. Divide it by 20 bucks. How many books do you need to sell in order to hit that revenue goal? If you did 2 interviews a week, selling 25 copies each time, that's 200 books a month. That's $5,000 in sales, just in selling your book, right? Something you can easily sell every single day in a media interview. You can sell it in a Facebook ad. You can sell it in email. You could sell it in a text message. If you sold 7 books a day, you have 7 people in your list, right? That you could DM, text message, invite, right? Ask, invite, tell, beg, right? Do you know 7 people today that you could ask, invite, tell, beg to buy your book? If you did that every day, just 7 people, that's $5,000 in sales. You do that in 2 interviews a week, selling 25 copies each time, that's 200 books, that's $5,000. What if you doubled that? There's 6 figures right there sitting in untapped intellectual property from your food book. But the way you design the food book is to get them into your sales castle. But most people will tell you, Angel, there's no money in the book, right? The money's in the back end, the money's in the funnel, the money's in those higher ticket clients. That's true, but there is also money in the book. And when you leverage Amazon as your sales partner, when you trigger, and you've seen this, you guys have seen this time and time again, like when people come out of the gates, they're like, it's bestseller day, right? Hey, everybody buy my book today. When you do that, you trigger something in algorithm, or the algorithm inside Amazon, that says, ooh, we've got a hot one, right? This is a hot lead. Amazon is not interested in your bestseller campaigns. They're not interested in these little Amazon boosts. What they are interested in is sales. Hands down, they want dollars. So do you. Remember that. So do you. So every time your book hits 25 units, it triggers a domino inside the algorithm of Amazon. So if you're selling 25 units in a day, Amazon comes alongside of you as your sales partner and says, oh, you're a hot new release. Like you're selling like hotcakes. We have a database based on your keywords, based on your category, based on your reviews, based on your sales. We're going to push you out. We're going to send an email out to some of our prime members, some of our buyers. We're going to feature your product alongside, ooh, other people have bought this, have also bought this. Right? Have you ever seen that? Like you've been on the receiving end of that. We, based on your previous purchases, we recommend this to you. So, how do we set that up? Number one, we are not doing a phony get bestseller status by manipulating the algorithm that is Amazon. We are creating true buyers, true commerce by setting yourself up in a category that has less than 5,000 books in competition. Not because we want to manipulate the algorithm, but because we want to organically set you up for success to become a bestseller organically. We also want to make sure that it's the right category that creates ongoing sales. So when Amazon, as your sales partner, goes off to market you to their fan club, that it makes sense. So we're not going to put your book in pig farmers in Latin, even because it's a low category and we know you can hit the bestseller category. But this is where most will have you do the one time, go get the bestseller, and then be done with it. Like they're not at all about selling books. And I was like that too, because I'm like, yeah, you go, you publish, you become a bestseller. Maybe you'll sell books on the back end, right? At your speaker events, you might do some book signing events, but it wasn't at all about ongoing sales on Amazon because nobody knew how to create the ongoing sales on Amazon. They knew how to manipulate the algorithm, go and create it. But we are, and we've tested this, right? We've tapped into this and we've tested this, that when you do 25 units in a day, Amazon comes alongside as your sales partner. So try this number on for size. 100 sales a day is $1 million in sales. How many of you would love to be a millionaire? Run $1 million business, not just for yourself, but you could impact and teach others to create $1 million business. I don't want six figures. I want seven. I want to be in the 2 comma club. And back in September, I started to become very obsessed with this concept of not only building $1 million business, but teaching others how, so that entrepreneurs aren't busy but broke, right? They're not taking a paycheck. They're struggling. I can't tell you, people like Angel, I'm unemployed. No, you're not. You're an entrepreneur, right? You are unemployed and you are unemployable, but you are sitting on an intellectual gold mine. I am not in the publishing business, right? I'm not a publisher, but I have published, well, 12, 13, I think now, are we up to 14, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13 books, 13 books. And I teach people, I mean, almost every day I have a new author publishing a book because this is a gold mine of revenue for you. Even if you don't have high ticket clients, even if you don't have an additional product, you don't have an additional service, by going out and leveraging 2 interviews a week, selling 25 copies of your book each time, you have created an entire, I mean, you could take care of your entire family, an amount of revenue that is more than the average American is bringing in every single year. I, I mean, is that just like mic drop for you? I want you to just soak that in for a minute. Look at your numbers. How many books do I need to sell? Right? I mean, so often, if I'm going to hit my revenue goals, how many clients do I need to serve? But if I'm going to serve that many clients, that's taking up quality time out of my day, right? And now I'm working long hours and I'm exhausted and I'm not spending time with my family. I'm not having personal time. I'm not spending time with my grandbabies. I don't want that. That's not what we got in business. Just by having a book as your low ticket item, after a media interview, you could create royalties that come in. It's like it's true mailbox money that we've always heard of. But nobody teaches to sell the books on Amazon because they don't know how to create the traffic. You create the traffic by 2 interviews a week on somebody else's platform. So now we have our media story, right? Why you? Why now? What's the big idea? Now I want you to put, like, what is your keyword? Or I'll just pause. Questions. Questions about this so far. Comments. Are we good? Okay. So now I want, what is your key word or phrase that when people hear it, they think of you? They're like, oh, media, you need Angel Tuccy, right? Marriage, right? Anything that has to do with marriage. Oh, you need the Hilux, right? What is your word or phrase that when people hear it, they think, oh my gosh, I know exactly who to refer you to, right? Exactly who to refer you to. This is who you should interview. This is who you speak on their stage. This is the book you should buy, right? This is the course you should take. This is who you should work with. Chess, marriage, goal, caregiver. Okay, so Pamela, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat for just a minute, because if your word is caregiver, but what you are selling is in skincare, those two things, like, they're different. So when we think of caregiver, what is it? If you're going to go and speak and be interviewed and talk about caregiving, what is your low ticket item? What is the thing that you're selling that gets them into the sales funnel that is in that caregiver space?
Okay. So what I would do is am I echoing? I feel like I'm echoing. Okay. What I would do is offer a course that would walk people through the process of what I do as a caregiver. So maybe I need to choose a different word, but everything that I've ever done, my entire purpose, my entire career has always been, whether I'm working at the hospital, taking care of my family members, taking care of clients, it all has to do with hospitality. And even before I became a skin specialist, I went to culinary school. So hospitality has always been my industry. It's just, serving people in a lot of different ways.
So how do we get in touch with you?
You can email me at gsmbeautycollection@gmail.com. And
what's GSM Beauty Collection?
Good Skin Matters. So GSM
Okay.
Beauty Collection
Uh-huh.
@gmail.com.
Uh-huh.
And then the phone number 719-371-5126.
Okay. So you talked about hospitality and caregiving and, working in the hospital, like having all of this, and then to connect with you is Good Skin Matters. What's the bridge? How do those two things connect?
That's why I chose caregiving, but maybe.
Yeah. So I'm not giving you your word. I'm not telling you to pick the word, right?
Yeah.
But so we want to make sure that everything is matchy, right? How people get into your sales castle, right? What you're selling, right? This is what puts food on the table, right? We want to make sure that what we are known for in the marketplace, that is, generalist, specialist, expert, authority, right? When we go up that revenue ladder of becoming the absolute authority expert in that space, you want to focus, right? Follow one course until successful. Pick your one thing. If you want to be known, and that's what, when people hear the word caregiver, if that's what you want to be known for, and that's what people attach to you, then make sure that the whole funnel, like, is in that caregiving space. If it's not, if it's in the skincare, then we need to change what people are thinking about you and what they're referring you to, because otherwise it's really just a passion project, something you're passionate about. So I could speak on Disney because all my kids work at Disney. I could speak on, time management because I like that kind of stuff. And I could speak on marriage. I've been married 28 years. I could speak on all sorts of things, right, that I'm passionate about. Right? But what is the thing that gets them in my sales castle so that I can turn them into customers? So if we think about, this is the thing I'm known for, and this is the thing I sell, do they match?
So when I was part of the Chamber of Commerce and we had the leads groups, we had the masterminding. So when I had my initial business name, it was Pam's Place, but a lot of people thought it was a restaurant, right? And so as we went around the table, I had 10 choices and people like ticked the whichever one they liked the best. And what expressed me was Good Skin Matters, since it's my last name and skin. And then there's matters about your skin, and your skin matters to me too. So maybe my word is wrapped up in my name. Good Skin Matters.
Okay, we need a whole session with you, Miss Pamela, right?
Okay.
Like, so right, like we need an umbrella. Right, we need an umbrella that gets them into the castle, because you do have multiple things, right, that you could end up serving them. So we need that umbrella so that it isn't confusing. Like, how would you refer to Pam? Would you refer to her for caregiving? Would you refer to her for skincare? Right? What is the best way? And you just don't want to confuse people. And when we're putting you on stages, and what are you going to speak on? Right? I want you to have one signature talk, one signature interview, one signature topic that you cover, and build that up. Build it up and have it be so rock solid. Create the revenue, because otherwise, like, I'm building this and I'm building this and I'm all for diversity, right? All for diversifying our revenue, but I want you to diversify it in a way that says I'm getting money from my books, I'm getting money from speaking, I'm getting money from my membership, I'm getting money from my like. I don't want you to be a dog walker, a window washer, and a graphic designer, right? Because it's just, but there, how do we put it under an umbrella? And so for many of you, you guys know Dawn Moore, right? Dawn Moore, that girl has more businesses than you could shake a stick at, whatever the phrase would be. But we have her under, right, one umbrella, so they get her in the castle. And where she leads with is that low-hanging fruit. So think about this. What are the things that somebody's willing to pay you for quickly to get into your castle? What is the simplest thing that you can sell to them to get them as a client that doesn't take a lot of convincing? It's not a hard sell. There's an audience out there that's willing and ready to go, okay, yeah, I absolutely need that here, because it's $100, right? It's, whatever that low ticket item is. Like, I'm willing to throw away money just to see if I like it, and then I'll invest even more, versus here, commit to this full year, intensive, deep mastermind, it's 16 grand. And, you've got to commit heavy, high ticket, high trust, right? Because it's small, it's intimate, it's long-term. I mean, it has all the things. But if you say to them, look, we're going to do this one, full day event, or we're going to do this, great little thing. It's $160, and you can come in and sample it. And I go, all right, well, we'll come in, we'll sample it. Like, we could try that. And if it doesn't work, nothing lost. You want to think about what's that low ticket into your castle. But Pamela, we need an umbrella. We just need the umbrella that ties back into exactly what you are selling. But we'll spend some time talking about that.
Okay. You don't want me to add in there just a moment?
No.
Would you like me to? No. Okay.
No, we're good. No, we're good.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, when we have your word, right, that you are known for, that this starts to be this word, this phrase that in the marketplace, anytime somebody hears it, like word of mouth marketing, right? Word of mouth referrals, they're like, I have the expert for you, right? Goal. Patricia's is goal. Like, that's in her title of her book. I would like to see that. Like right now, like, you're doing a lot around the word shift, right? And so I don't know if you have other programs that are helping people to shift, if that's what you're selling, but think about what you're selling and making sure that what you are known for in the marketplace aligns with the client that is going to buy from you. Because the easier it is for the client to connect the dots, the the less marketing, the less touches, the less follow-up, right? The less expensive it is to get them as an actual paying client. And so we're just keeping it simple, right? Keep it simple. So you have your word, right? And then you have your expert title, right? So what are you an expert at? How do people introduce you, right? We have speaker, author, coach, and right? Who isn't, right? I am a media exposure specialist. So when they say, I want to introduce you, oh, you need media exposure? Let me introduce you to Angel. She's a media exposure specialist. Like, that's what I need. When people hear your expert title, they should think to themselves, I need that, or I know somebody that could use that. But if we're like, I'm a radio host. Okay, great, right? Unless we know people who are definitely looking for, um, for that. Most people, that's not what's keeping them up at night, right? I'm not keeping up at night because I don't know any radio hosts, right? What's keeping me up at night is I'm not getting enough exposure for my business, my book, or my brand. I need that. The goal achievement strategist, right? Struggling with goals, right? Creating goals, sticking to goals. I don't even know how to write a goal. I don't like, where do I even start? The goal achievement strategist, right? That's what you need, Patty Joe. They're like, great. It's exactly who I need. It's super clear. It is super clear and it connects the dots. Right? Like we're breadcrumb marketing, right? I'm having trouble with goals. You need the goal expert, right? The goal achievement strategist. Like, perfect. Now when Patty Joe talks, she's like, I've got the perfect lead in for you. I've got the perfect book I can send to you. Go buy my book, right? And it's going to introduce them to her. Instead of saying, let's get on this one-on-one discovery call because you can fog a mirror, right? And I've got a mirror. Like, we are wasting our time all day long in these one-on-one calls. Tell them to go buy the book. If they're not going to spend $20, are they going to spend 2,000 with you or 200 with you? Right? It's a great filter. It is a great filter for you to attract perfect clients into your sales castle. Because for most of you, when you put that number down of how many clients you need to serve, that number is relative to the population pretty small. So don't you want to make sure that the people that are getting on your calendar, in your sales funnel, taking, consuming up most your most precious commodity, the very most precious commodity thing that you have to give is your time. Because you cannot recreate it. You cannot buy it back. You cannot, the second's gone, it's gone, right? And so by giving it away all day long for free to one person at a time, trying to convince somebody to buy from you, is where burnout comes in as a small business owner. This is where we struggle. Instead, put them through a filter system, right? You're creating the exposure. Many people are hearing you, but we don't want to say, hey, call me, get on my calendar to all the minis, because we have no idea. I've never sell from stage my private coaching, because I don't know if we're a good fit. I don't know, like, if this is going to be a smart move for either of us. You get in, you can buy my book. You can buy a ticket to the boot camp, right? Which is group. You can get the digital course, right? But you don't get into, you've got to come through some gates, right? You've got to come to the Media Mastery Boot Camp before you can hire me for private coaching. This is what you need to put into space for you guys, right? They don't get one-on-one time with you until they qualify. And it's also a smart sales practice, like little item, core signature item, then your high ticket. We don't lead with the backstage pass. They don't even know if they like your music yet, right? They might not like your style. So we don't lead with the backstage pass. Like, here, listen to my song, buy my CD, right? Come to the concert, and then the backstage pass. Does that make sense, the process, right? And so even in that scenario, right, is it country? Is it jazz? Is it rock and roll? Is it disco, right? That's the word, right? You know what you're getting from the very get-go without having to go really deep we all want to be deep, right? Like I want to give you like all this stuff, but what's the word? What's the word you're known for? And then youth development, absolutely, right? And then and how you use chess. You had the word chess up there, is exactly what you get with Oren. Like this is what he's known for. If you go to his website, you see him, you see it, it's on his t-shirts. Like he is walking, talking his brand every single day. When he's in the media, he is staying in his lane. He's absolutely staying in his lane. Does that mean that he might, occasionally like to play Monopoly or cards? Or of course, right? But what he is known for, what his brand is, what he is consistently focused on, is teaching youth how to play chess, right? To develop our youth through the game of chess. And he's rock solid, just absolutely rock solid about that. Questions about the staying in your lane, right? Focusing on and having that umbrella. So you have your signature word or phrase, your expert title, and then what are the top 3 things in a media interview that you would share? What would you cover? What would the 3 outcomes be? If I'm going to interview you as a guest on my show, the morning show is going to call you, hey, Patty Joe, we want to have you on. We need, we're talking about goals, right? We're doing a whole segment on goals. So we heard you're the goal expert. What are the top 3 things that you're going to share with our audience? Sakisha, right? We're doing a whole segment on marriages and relationships and what's keeping people together. What are the top 3 things that you're going to share with our audience? Right? You want to give people results. Like these are your 3 talking points that get them into your castle. Right? And so Pamela, hydration, right? Hydration is great for skin, right? It's probably also great for in the caregiving world too. So like, which direction are you going, right? You've got, pick a lane, right? Pick which direction, which lane, right? You can't have one foot on both sides of the fence. We're going to pick one, right? So what are those top 3 results? And the reason why we pick our 3 results is it ensures that you are there adding value. You're not there trying to just sell tickets to your program, right? To sell clients, right? Because this is somebody else's stage. It's an unpaid for platform. If you want to sell programs, event tickets, right, you have to buy advertising for that. But as a guest on somebody else's platform, like I'm going to teach you the top 3 ways, right? X, Y, and Z. And so like Dr. Wendy Labatt, right? She teaches you how to, set yourself up with your finances, how to protect against financial ruin and create generational wealth. Like she's got her top 3 things that it doesn't matter whether it's her stage, on her group, in a media interview, in her book, these are her top 3 results. The low-hanging fruit that when people hear them, they think, I need that. And they're taking notes. Right? So when we have like these top 3 juicy things, right? Hydration, right? Juicy things that we're giving away. The goal is to get people to take notes, because if we can get them to take notes, right? And you can tell them, hey, write this down, right? Here's an acronym, write this down. Here's tip number 1. Here's tip number 2, tip number 3, right? Encourage people to take notes when you are a guest on somebody else's platform. And the reason for that, of course, retention, engagement, but we want to monetize our exposure, right? So if I've got my pen in my hand, I'm taking notes. When you give your call to action, I'm not scrambling to find something to take notes with. I'm not scrambling to go, oh, I've got to write this number down. What was that website again? I have my pen already in my hand, ready to take notes. So when you tell me, text the word angel to 26786 to get your complimentary media starter kit, pen is in hand. So when you think about your 3 talking points, can you put that into an acronym? Do you have fun quotes, alliterations, rhymes, right? Things that make it really simple for people to remember, right? When we think of goals, like how many of us think of SMART goals, SMART, right? It's been drilled into our heads, right? I can't remember what they are off the top of my head at the moment, but if I took a second, I would be able to get there because I've heard it so many times. But there's an acronym, right? There's an alliteration, right? Here's the 3 Ps, right? Position, publish, and pitch, right? I talk about that all the time. But you've got your acronyms that get people to take notes. You start to have up like in kind of your language, your catchphrases. I tell people leverage OPA. I used to say OPP and then somebody else started using it, right? And so I'm like, and I guess it was also in a song. So like, that's okay. I am the queen of acronyms, right? I will come up with my own quotes, right? People start using my stuff. I'm like, I'll change lanes. Like, then now you can take it and run with it. I'll come up with my new one, right? So OPA, other people's audiences. I teach the recipe, 2+1, 2 interviews a week, 1 press release a month. How many of you are hearing that now from other people? Like now they're saying it. They're like, oh, it's 2 interviews a week. Well, I will tell you, I came up with it from this very complicated math. Wanted 100 stages, 50 weeks, 52 weeks. It was like 2. I'm like, oh, that's how you get to 100. Like, it's not rocket science. Okay, it's 2 interviews a week if you want to get on 100 stages. That's where that formula came from, right? There was no real magic in it originally, like when I came up with it. But then I realized it is 100 stages. Then I realized, this 25 unit Amazon deal, right? Well, 25 units twice a month, it's 200, that's 5,000. So when you like, it was there, but it wasn't until I started creating the formula that I'm like, well, it solves for this, it solves for this, it solves for this, it's sticky, it's memorable, people, right? And now you're hearing it everywhere and they're like, why is it 2? And they don't know. Angel said so, right? Well, it's because it's 100 stages a year, because it gives you a chance to sell 25 copies, which gives you those 200 sales, which gives you that 5K in sales. Like there's math behind it, but in the out front of it, it just sounded good, right? 2+1, like we can do that. So you have all of your little acronyms, put your language, put your spin on it, because remember, you're getting your person at the beginning of their journey and you're creating loyalty. And any time that you have your own language in your own community, you create this loyalty inside the community, because you guys, it's like having inside jokes, like with a loved one, right? It bonds you together. So come up with your own language, put words together, right? Even for Pamela, like good skin matters. It's Pamela Good, right? Good skin matters. So like when you think of this good thing, right? She could have a good acronym, GOOD. I don't know how hydration isn't in there, but drink more water or get more, I don't know. Anyways, like if you're going to play with it, like run with it, put it on t-shirts, get it on balloons, have it on stickers, like saturate the market with your message. Saturate the market with your message. Yeah, done is better than none. I know. And I had to test that this week. I had 2 emails that went out with mistakes in them. We had set up a whole automated campaign. Email number 1 had the wrong link. Email number 2 didn't even have the link. After that, I'm like, turn it off. Because it's just like, and they're like, Angel, but done is better than perfect. I'm like, yeah, well, done ain't working at all. Because I'm like, I don't know how to fix this. So we just turned the whole thing off. But when you have your language, so now do you start to feel like, okay, there's stages for me. There's all this opportunity, places for me to practice getting my message out, this call to action. I can publish my food book, the book that puts food on the table, create a whole stream of revenue for myself, position myself as this expert, right? I'm the expert. This is my key phrase. So when anybody ever hears it or tags it, I can do a quick little search on Twitter, on LinkedIn, anything at that phrase and engage, in the conversation. I'm the expert. In fact, I wrote the book on it. These are my top 3 results that I give. You can have a signature talk, a signature course, a signature book, a signature interview, all around your media story. And these top 3 results lead people to go back to buy your book. And you have everything you need to create exposure and revenue. All right there, simple. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Now, the third piece that I do 2 interviews a week, 1 press release a month. Now that you're getting all of this exposure, now that you're writing books, you're speaking on stages, you're becoming a best-selling author, you're hitting milestones, you're creating all these accolades. Now I want you to alert the press. Put out a press release every single month. A press release every single month puts you in front of thousands of media news desks. You create that search engine optimization. Right? When people hear you on stage, what are they going to do? They're going to look you up. They're going to look you up on Instagram. They're going to follow you on LinkedIn, right? They're going to find you on Clubhouse. They're going to look you up. Well, when you've got the power of those press releases coming in month after month, it's easier to find you, right? Because it lifts up your stronger websites, your face or your website, your social sites, like your stuff kind of gets pushed to the top of that search engine. So I'm seeing Patty Joe on stage. I'm like, oh, let me look her up. Because of the press releases that are going out month after month, all those other outlets, this is OPA, other people's audiences, it rises her podcast, her stuff right to the top. So it's easy to find her just like that, organically, without paid ads. And every single month, it's the consistency. And fall in love with the humdrum consistency of one press release a month. So here's how we do our press releases. You guys have a big goal that you want to hit at the end of this year, right? Right? You've got a really big goal. What is that goal? Write that down, what that goal is, right? International global speaker, $1 million revenue, right? Writes $1 million check to her favorite charity. Like, what is your big audacious goal? That's your headline for December. That is your December headline. You're going to write a press release. Like, the press release is going, all right, Oren just, had his millionth youth student, right? That he took, gave away a chessboard to, right? You have your audacious headline. Like, that's your headline for December. Now, imagine, right? If we're going to have that be our December headline, there's probably some milestones you're going to hit before that, right? There's some things, right? You're going to have, hit a different number. You're going to have aligned with a nonprofit or a different charity, or have an influencer, right? Share you with their audience. I don't know, they're going to make a music video about you, right? You're going to publish a book. You're going to become a best-selling author. Like, what are some of the milestones that you're going to hit before that, right? And so I want you to write down 3 or 4 things, right? If I'm going to become this, well, I'm going to publish my book. I'm going to be a best-selling author. I'm going to speak on stages with these great people. Like, what are the baby steps that are going to lead you to having that come true? So, like, Eric and Sakisha, they're starting a new TV show on the ZTV network, right? And so this is one of the headlines leading into their big audacious goal for the end of the year. So there's 3 or 4 headlines right there that you are now starting to write. So think about, not so much, what I'm going to do, like, you guys have these big goals. So what month are we going to hit those baby steps, those milestones? That's the month that press release gets to be featured, and you can start to control the story, right? So when we start to binge search you, look, she started a podcast. Look, she hit her X number of episodes. Look, she's now had top influencers. Look, she launched a course. Look, she launched an event, right? She had a sellout first event. She had what are all of those milestones? Every single one of those is a headline. It is a news headline. You can take that news story and pitch it directly to your local media news station, because on every media news site, they have right on their website a place you can submit your press release for free, because a press release is the language of media. This is what you send to media and journalists, is your press release. It is the language of media. This is how they consume their news. This is how they put their stories together. I just found a report, I posted it on the Media Mastery Facebook group, that 81% of journalists use press releases to put together their stories in a month. 81% are using press releases to put together their stories for the month. Either that's because they look at it daily, weekly, or monthly, right? But when you add those 3 numbers in, it was 81%. Put out a press release, submit it to your local news station for free. Helpful? Are you inspired? Maybe a little bit. Good stuff. Thanks, Oren. Oren, it's good to see you. Always good to see you. You're a rock star out in the world. All right. So this isn't complicated. When we position ourselves as that expert, we create those media assets. We put our story, we pitch our story every single month into those media outlets and stay in our lane.